Hello everyone and Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season, and I don't know about you, but I am super pumped about the possibilities of 2023, whatever it has in store, so bring it on, I'm ready. It's going to be an interesting year in the Boise housing market and in the housing market everywhere. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Summer Aston, a realtor in the beautiful Boise, Idaho area, and today's video is one of my favorite to make. Predictions. And what fun are predictions if you don't revisit them from the previous year to see if any of those predictions were correct. So today we will revisit my 2022 Boise housing market predictions to see if any of them were correct while giving a quick recap of 2022, and then stick around for predictions of the 2023 Boise housing market. It's longer than usual, but I cover many points that you probably have not heard people talking about, so you'll want to stay tuned to see what you think. All right, let's just get to it and listen to what I said on New Year's of 2022. So my predictions for 2022 are to see a continued influx of people moving here. I totally should have brought that party hat back. So yes, not a big surprise. We did still see an influx of people moving here, just not quite as crazy as 2021. Okay, let's see the next one. Due to the school year, I think it will be slower to pick up in winter and spring than in 2021 and 2020 when everyone was schooling online. So yes, 2 in a row correct. We went back to our pre-pandemic normal market with a slower winter and early spring market as expected for our weather and school year trends. So I expect the major price increases to come in June and July this year. Okay, so I was wrong about this one. Our home prices peaked in April and May, and then the interest rates rose to push affordability out of reach for more people, causing home prices to level in June and begin a decline in July. 2 out of 3, not bad so far. And I don't expect as many bidding wars or huge over asking prices due to increased inventory and also due to fewer buyers who are able to afford our higher prices. But I do expect more inventory for existing homes as sellers want to cash in on their equity. So yes, not as many bidding wars, homes closer to asking prices for sure, increased inventory as sellers cashed in on equity, but I didn't predict the decline in home prices that really showed up in Q4. Let's see the next one. I expect inventory issues to continue in the new construction market due to supply chain and labor issues, and as inflation continues, I expect to see the gap between the cost of a new home and an existing home widen. Okay, the new construction prediction was sort of right for half the year and then continued to get more wrong as the year went on. If sellers of existing homes were motivated to sell, they could really drop prices quite a bit. Builders responded to rising interest rates initially with just a lot of incentives to buy down rates and pay the cost of long-term locks to help overcome people's uncertainties about the interest rates and the long build job. So through some of Q3, many builders were holding prices, but towards September, they started to really drop prices if they had room to do so and add that on top of the incentives. The continuation of the fallout of the higher interest rates, along with inflation, and another key factor will play into my prediction for the new construction market for 2023, so we will circle back around to this one, but I think I was mostly wrong on this one. Okay, and the last prediction that I made, but keep your eye on potentially rising interest rates. Okay, that wasn't really a prediction as much as a warning, and that one line, but keep your eye on potentially rising interest rates, that was really the crux of how the 2022 Boise housing market turned out and where it will go in 2023. So hey, I did pretty well in the 2022 predictions, but before we move on to the 2023 Boise housing market predictions, let's wrap up some more key points of 2022 that will affect 2023. So yes, housing prices have dropped. Our median sales price for the Valley finally dropped below the median sales price of the same time in 2021. However, please use your own wisdom and not buy into all the fear people are trying to sell to get clicks and views. I've seen and heard some pretty far out things about the Boise housing market that just aren't true. I saw one person mentioning that the new construction sites are abandoned. While they have slowed, they are still building and still selling. Be cautious when people are comparing numbers from this year or this coming year to numbers during 2020 and 21 like comparing inventory or days on market to that time period. 2020 and 2021 were not normal, and of course, when you compare an average of 1 day on market to the current average of about 40 days on market, which is within normal for Boise, by the way, the percent increase is huge. Even coming up in 2023, comparing those numbers to 2022 will not be a complete picture, as the 2022 market was largely a carryover from the pandemic-driven housing market. But as I mentioned before, interest rates were really the key factor to the 2022 Boise housing market. Most people who bought homes in early 2022 who were able to get under about a 5.5% rate, even though they may have paid more for that same home than they would pay today, their house payments are still lower due to a lower rate than those paying less for a home today and having to go with a 7% rate or higher. In 2022, as the interest rates rose, sellers, unless very motivated, generally held on to higher prices, and not because they couldn't sell for lower. As of today, most sellers can still sell for lower and will walk away with a ton of equity, but they just have a hard time wrapping their head around the fact that they can't sell their home for what their neighbors did in 2021. We saw a large increase in inventory through the summer of 2022 as sellers wanted to sell high, and saw last summer as their last chance to do so, but then at the same time, interest rates rose, lessening buyer demand. We had a lot of sellers who were not that motivated to sell, so they began to take their homes off the market after the summer rush, and we have seen a big increase in sellers taking their homes off the market this fall and winter, which has led to a lessening of inventory compared to late summer and early fall of 2022. An interesting pattern that began to emerge in fall of 2022 was that certain price points, like homes under our median price point of about $550,000 or so, the sweet spot for first-time home buyers and investors, that was hit harder by rising rates and the uncertainty of the market. So that market is seeing more inventory, especially among builders, and larger price drops for motivated sellers. But at the same time, the cash non-investor buyer really stepped it up this fall, and they tended to be buyers who wanted custom homes for retirement. So we had an increase of demand for custom older homes that were over $800,000 in certain very desirable areas of the valley, like in Eagle. We even still had some bidding wars in that price point on the right homes. So this emerging pattern is where I will start my predictions for 2023. Disclaimer, Summer is not a wizard or magician or does not have any skills of prophecy, but she does have a pretty good grasp on the realities of the Boise housing market and wants to help people make informed decisions and not decisions based on fear. I think we will see big differences in micro markets emerging. It won't be like 2020 and 2021 where all micro markets were affected by the high demand and low inventory evenly across the board. I think the first-time homebuyer and investor market will still show the biggest price declines. If rates hover around 6.5% or go higher, the only way for sellers to make it affordable for people in that price point is to lower prices and offer rate buydowns. I think we will also see an increase in inventory of existing homes in that price point if financial distress comes into play from job loss, because people at this price point tend to put less money down and therefore have less equity. However, this will be interesting to watch play out. I am still not totally convinced that there will be enough job losses that will cause people to sell homes and cause inventory to really significantly increase. And of course, most investors are waiting on the sidelines for now, which, as a side note, makes it potentially a better time to buy for first-time buyers if they can afford the payments and if they intend to stay in the home for several years, because you know that the second home prices drop significantly, investors will swoop in and first-time home buyers won't be able to compete. The next micro market I see the biggest price declines happening in is in homes that were built in 2020 and 2021, homes where people were waiting to sell so they didn't have to pay capital gains, homes where people paid over $600,000 and didn't really get what they wanted due to the pandemic frenzy, and now they would like something better. And homes where you have two income earners who are working from home with out-of-state salaries and may be more vulnerable to first-line layoffs, if those layoffs in large amounts really do come. But the issue here is that these sellers will have to be willing to give up a 2.5% rate for a 7% rate, and if they really did get laid off, rent would be more expensive than their house payment with the 2.5% rate, so then again, maybe these people will stay put. Okay, if they don't, then this is the next micro market I predict a larger price decline. And then the third micro market, I see a bigger price decline for the beginning of 2023, but not necessarily towards the end, and I'll explain why, is the new construction market for homes that were being marketed at a luxury price point, homes over $1 million, but were built quickly with cheap materials and really didn't have luxury finishes. Some of these homes have already seen up to a $200,000 decline from the original list price, but they really are just getting down to closer to what they were worth. So why will these new construction homes not have a continued price decline towards the end of 2023? Well, because of the future lack of inventory. Right now, the new construction homes that are dropping in price the most are homes that are built, spec homes, or are getting built. But once these homes get sold off, an incredibly important factor for new construction home prices will start to emerge. And that is that builders have been pulling up to 75% fewer building permits this time this year than they did during the same time in 2021. And we really didn't even have enough new homes available then either. I know of some builders who are not building any new single-family homes in 2023 and are focusing on multifamily. So yes, there will be lower buyer demand in 2023, but if there are very few new construction homes to choose from in 2023 and into 2024, then existing home buyers won't sell as much if they don't have a new home to buy, and demand will become more tight on existing homes as well. We all know that there is some serious manipulation of markets and rates going on right now across the board. The housing market is no exception. Just like the car market realized what a great profit they could make by limiting supply, and they're continuing that strategy by having up to 80% fewer new cars on their lots in 2023, builders realize that they have to completely restrict supply to keep prices up to meet lower demand and to turn a decent profit. And I'm not saying that they're greedy business people or anything negative. I'm just showing how inflation, cost of labor, cost of supplies, and cost of land is such that they can't just build for less and sell for less. They literally have to sell for more money or they won't make the profit. So they will do that by keeping supply very low. This is not 2010 where builders way overbuilt. So then the fallout issue could be when rates come down somewhat, maybe not until 2024, or who knows what the powers that be will manipulate. But if rates come down and prices have come down a bit and there's no inventory, then we have a 2020 housing market all over again, which no one really wants. So I would hope we can settle into a nice, happy medium instead of living in a society that seems to be unsatiated unless we have massive pendulum swings from side to side to entertain us. So I do predict that once builders sell off current inventory, they will build at a much slower pace, and prices will stay higher than they should or than we expect them to be for the pockets of most people and given the higher rates. And then I actually see a certain micro market holding on to higher prices, and that is the one I mentioned before, the market that is desirable for cash retired buyers, buyers who want the quality of a true custom home, one you can't build in today's market without a very high price. These homes have very low turnover rates as they are mostly owned by retirees already who are not going to be financially distressed and don't want to move. And so the same, always slower cycle of a turnover on these homes will continue with the demand being higher as that population continues to move here to get away from politics in their current state. I think that sellers of existing homes will get super excited about the spring market. I've heard many who took their homes off the market this winter and are expecting to get a higher price this spring. I think many who are only selling to maximize on equity, they're going to try to list high just to test the market. So I think that March will show an uptick in prices and inventory, but I don't think it will take long to see those price drops again if sellers are willing to accept a reality check. So I predict price cuts will begin again by June, maybe May, depending on interest rates. However, people are still moving here and buyers are watching and waiting. I predict that we will still have steady sales on homes that are priced correctly, especially in those right micro markets. And there will still be those sellers who, when they realize they can't get what they wanted for their home, they will just take their home off the market, which lessens the potential for higher inventory. Unless there really is catastrophic job loss, I just really don't see a mechanism in 2023 for a wave of foreclosures or short sales. If short sales appear, it will be in that lower price point where people put less money down and had to sell the homes for less than they owe. And that's assuming they are forced to sell instead of just writing things out. Foreclosures take many, many months, if not years, to come up for sale to the public. So there has only been a very slight increase in people defaulting on payments at this point, and there's a lot that distressed homeowners can do to delay the process. So it's not realistic to say that 2023 will be full of foreclosures. I suppose that if there were large job losses, that if distressed sellers were facing foreclosure, they could still sell their home on the market for quite a bit less and still walk away with some equity, avoiding losing the home to the bank. So again, that is a possibility if there is significant financial distress, but we have to have much, much more inventory to have massive price decreases, and the lack of new construction inventory later in 2023 and into 2024 will play a big factor, along with sellers not wanting to give up on their interest rates for a higher one, and along with rent being more money than most people's mortgages. Of course, whatever happens in 2023 with our economy will certainly determine if we will see rising foreclosures in 2024. We have gotten used to things moving so quickly in our world, but it really is okay for things to move more slowly and maybe even better sometimes. So while I do predict a continuation of lowering prices in most areas, except for a slight uptick in listing prices in early spring from overeager sellers, I think that we will still be pretty stagnant for all of 2023. I think that we will see days on market increase, we'll see inventory increase for a time, but if inventory doesn't increase for a sustainable amount of time, then prices won't drop to crash levels that many people are hoping for. The Boise housing market has some recalibrating to do for sure, but overpriced homes that finally sell when they drop $100,000 to the correct price range and then sell and leave the sellers walking away with a couple $100,000 in equity still, that's not something I consider a crash. And my two biggest concerns really are, first, what will our housing market look like at the end of 2023 into 2024 when we have 75% newer construction homes coming to the market? Well, when I revisit this video in 2024, I guess we'll know. And second, if first-time home buyers or home buyers who decided to sell and rent to wait and see, they're trying to time the market to buy low with low rates, I'm worried that they won't be able to enter or re-enter the housing market. With so many developers and government entities being focused on building multifamily and massive apartment complexes, that doesn't give me much faith that the powers that be expect that home prices will become affordable anytime soon. Rent is going up, and you know what the interest rate on rent is. It's 100%. Renting is paying off somebody else's mortgage, so that cost has to be factored in when someone is waiting it out to try to time the market. I really think that homeownership will be essential to having any type of personal wealth and security in the future. So as much as our interest rates and higher prices really stink right now, if someone can afford it and is going to stay in the home for several years, then I hope people really consider their long-term future. Home prices may drop for a time, but with higher rates, well, we all know things aren't going to get cheaper in the long run. Okay, so that was a lot of information and quite a bit more detailed than my 2022 predictions, but as you know, a lot has changed in the Boise housing market since January of 2022. And I bet I'll say the same thing when I revisit this video in 2024. But what won't change is that my team and I love helping you buy and sell your homes here, of course, but we also love consulting with you to make sure you are making the best decision for your personal situation. There's much, much more than just housing market data that goes into your decision to buy or sell a home, and people have to buy and sell homes no matter what the economy is doing. I will have many more videos coming up this year. I'm getting support in place so that I can get out one video a week, and I now have support in place to help with social media. So make sure you're following Summer Aston Real Estate on Instagram for more Boise information. Remember that I have tons of videos on my YouTube channel, so subscribe and check them all out. Also, my website has blog posts, new videos, community information, and we are working on adding more guides and more information for you there. Oh, and in a few weeks, we will have a new relocation guide for 2023 finally, so you can download that. Of course, I will make a video about that when it comes out, and anyone who already gets the newsletter will be emailed a copy of the new relocation guide. So if you want to be on the monthly newsletter list, just head over to summerastonrealestate.com website, contact us there, and I don't know if 2023 will be easier or better than the last couple of years, but I do know that we are all stronger and ready to face what comes head on, and I hope that you are too. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.